Hi. Today I'm going to tell you another interesting glitch story.
This is a human gene called March1, and this is what Excel does to it. The cell flips, the date appears, the paper gets published, multiply that by 20 years. In 2020, the people in charge of naming human genes did something quietly absurd. They renamed 27 of them. Not because biology had changed, not because anyone had found a new mistake in the human genome. They renamed them because Excel refused to stop turning them into dates. This is the story of how a spreadsheet rewrote a corner of the human body, and the part of that story almost nobody talks about. Here's how bad it had gotten. A 2016 paper looked at the supplementary spreadsheets attached to genetics research. The data tables most readers never open. Roughly 1 in 5 carried silent errors. Not because the scientists were careless, because the tool had opinions. Excel saw a string like March1, the gene that codes for a specific membrane protein, and decided that looks like a date. So it became March 1st, saved, submitted, peer-reviewed, published, cited by other papers, which were also typed into Excel, which also did the same thing. The errors were silent. The cell never complained. It just changed. And once a value is saved as a date, going back is harder than you'd think. The original string is already gone. For 2 decades, this ran in the background of biology, and almost nobody flagged it. The behavior is older than most of the people using it. Somewhere in the late 1980s, an engineer at Microsoft decided that any string looking vaguely like a date probably was one. It was meant to help. Save typing, auto-format. The assumption was reasonable in 1987. Spreadsheets were for accountants. Nobody was typing gene names. Nobody was typing protein sequences. Nobody was typing the chemical compound 1-bromo, which Excel, by the way, also tries to fix. The defaults were set. The world changed around them. The defaults didn't. You'd think this would be an easy fix. Add a toggle. Let the user say, this column is text, leave it alone. The genetics community asked for exactly that. For years, Microsoft declined. The position summarized, this is how Excel works. So in 2020, the HUGO Gene Nomenclature Committee, the international body responsible for naming every gene in the human genome, did something no scientific institution wants to do. They blinked. March1 was renamed March F1. Sep1 became Septin1. Dec1, yes, the gene whose name reads as December 1st, was renamed DELEC1. 27 genes in total, rewritten not because of new evidence, but because the software was unmovable. In the committee's own paper, they explained the choice almost apologetically. It was, they wrote, a decision driven not by science, but by the practical reality of how researchers used their data. The committee asked Microsoft to change it. Microsoft declined, so the committee changed the genes. Here's the part that didn't make the headlines. In 2023, 3 years after the renaming, Microsoft quietly added a setting to Excel. A toggle. The exact toggle the genetics community had been asking for since the early 2000s. You can switch off automatic data conversion now, if you'd like. The genes are not going back. The papers are not going back. The databases, millions of rows of them, are not going back. The fix arrived after the workaround had already become permanent. The genome was easier to edit than the spreadsheet. This is the kind of story that gets filed under funny and then quietly forgotten. It shouldn't be. Because the lesson isn't about Excel. It's about defaults. Somebody, somewhere, made a small decision in 1987 about what a date looks like. That decision touched 27 genes in the human body 40 years later. Nobody voted on it. Nobody reviewed it. It just was. We like to think we shape the tools we use. The shape, more often, goes the other way. Archive note: 27 genes in the human body now carry names chosen not by evolution, but by autocorrect. The fix exists. The renaming is permanent. The defaults, the ones nobody remembers anyone choosing, are still running. Somewhere in a database tonight, a researcher is opening a spreadsheet and a string is quietly turning into a date. File closed.